Joining me in our Washington studio is Negar Mortazavi, a journalist at Iran International. That's an online magazine that describes itself as the forum for partners in Iran's marketplace. Negar, welcome to the program. Happy New Year to you. I want to get to President Trump's tweets in a moment, but really I want to get to the crux of what we're seeing in Iran. Economic problems, frustration, hardships, certainly nothing new in this country and for Iranians. So why are we seeing this now?
Well, yes, as you mentioned, the descent has been there for a while of economic and political mismanagement, of corruption, of not just what existed in the current administration, but holdovers, a lot of them from the President Ahmadinejad era. Add to that the U.S. and international sanctions and the pressures. So the dissent has been genuine and it has been there. And, we can probably say there has been, now it found a platform. Basically people have found a way to vent their anger and their frustration at the status quo. Also, when I speak to political activists on the ground, mainly reformist activists, they have this idea, this widespread idea, that the protests actually started by the anti-Rouhani conservatives. That's why it started in the city of Mashhad, which is a base for one of his election rivals. But then it quickly escalated in the slogans, which went all the way beyond the president to the supreme leader, and now it's targeting the entire establishment for political and economic mismanagement.
But these are different from the protests, the large-scale protests with tens of thousands pouring to the streets, in fact, millions maybe back in 2009. How would you say they are different compared to what we saw back then?
Definitely, these are very different. In 2009, it was a very political atmosphere. It shaped around the presidential election, which is the most important political event in Iran. There was clear leadership, political parties, established groups were involved. There was a direction, there was a plan. These protests don't really have leaders. They don't have a clear direction and plan. And a lot of times you just see people on their own on the streets, and that's how it leads to more radicalization, more radical slogans. But at the same time, contrary to what the establishment is trying to portray, these are not foreign agents. These are ordinary Iranian citizens who basically have had it when you talk to them. They say they're fed up with the situation. Their salaries, their incomes are not catching up to inflation, to the prices, and they see all kinds of corruption in different levels of the government. And this is a way for them to vent in multiple dozens of cities, in fact.
What do you make of President Rouhani's response, basically saying, listen, we've got problems in this country, and I back people's rights to protest, but you cannot resort to violence. Were you surprised by that reaction?
Not so much. I mean, he is considered a moderate, and he is taking a moderate tone, a mild tone towards the protesters. And this is something that's been resonating in other officials as well. But what's interesting is that the division of power, the way it's set up in the country, is in a way that his administration doesn't have control over all sectors of the economy. There are certain organizations, religious organizations and foundations, very large ones, that don't answer to the administration when it comes to their budget and finances. So people are just angry at the overall situation, not just the administration. It's beyond him now. When they address the supreme leader in their slogans that are very radical, in fact, that's just a symbol for the entire establishment over decades and not just today.
And I want to talk about something Jessica mentioned in her piece. 6 times the President Trump went on Twitter to talk about developments in Iran, and his latest tweet, Iran is failing at every level. The great Iranian people have been repressed for many years. You saw it. You heard what Jessica had to say. I'm sure you read it on Twitter. Do you think these types of tweets or reactions from this administration, are they hurtful or helpful?
Well, any response from the U.S. government has been taken with caution by protesters and especially reformists in Iran, because the hardliners and conservatives are very quick at labeling anybody as agents of foreign governments, mainly Iran's enemies, as they call U.S. or Israel. But with this president, there's an added layer to it, because he is the president who just imposed a travel ban on a few Muslim-majority countries, including Iran. And these are ordinary Iranians. These are not Iranian government officials. These are ordinary mothers and fathers who want to visit their children who are studying as graduate students in the U.S. and now they can't. So imposing that kind of restrictions on the good people of Iran, as he calls them, and then claiming this type of solidarity with the good people of Iran and blaming everything on the government is just something that I see a lot of Iranians calling hypocritical at best.
All right, we'll leave it there. Negar Mortazavi, thank you so much.
Thank you.